Oh, here we go. There we go. Hey, good morning.
Oh,
Wow.
we
Okay,
good?
there's so many of us
What?
now.
That's too many.
It's way too many.
That's double trouble right there.
Oh, man. This is one of those
David.
days. Hang on. I know. This is, okay.
Well, he fixed that. I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today to Coffee
No, not
Chat.
that one.
Not that one. We're going to try this one again and we'll eventually get to the right one. But
Here we
today
go.
is Friday, April the 2nd, 2021. And now we're on the right camera.
We are.
Tech.
So here's the thing is, we use this really great program called Ecamm Live,
Yes.
which we've used for a year, and but they've just recently released
They did
some
an
updates.
update.
They did an update,
Which
but
is
great
good.
features, but apparently some of the things I wasn't prepared for. So, but that's all good.
Now you have to relearn it again.
I know, right? Good morning, David Henry. Good to see you. Welcome.
Hi. Good morning,
And Josh
my friend.
Kohler,
Yay.
And
We look forward to
he's-
seeing you soon.
as always, doing the great hashtags Hello Nights and hashtag Cup of Awesome.
Yes.
Be sure to use those.
You both are awesome. We love you
guys
both.
are, and we're going to see both of them soon.
I know.
Yeah, that's exciting.
That is very exciting.
And
In
hey,
person.
That's right, in person. Yay! And be sure to like and share because sharing is caring. Joshua St. John. Hashtag Hello
Good
Nights.
morning.
Good Friday. That's right.
Absolutely.
Happy Good
It
Friday.
it is a good day. It is a good Friday. In fact, it is Good Friday.
It is Good Friday. That's
It is
right.
Good Friday. It is
And-
Easter weekend, everybody.
That's right. Speaking of Easter weekend, Kaylin Nicholson, you will be at my church on Sunday. I'm so excited to meet y'all.
Yay.
We're excited to meet you.
We are. It's going to be a great
We're gonna be
Sunday. So
talking about
invite
that
all
here
your
soon.
friends because you don't want to miss this. We have something really exciting in store for you guys on Sunday.
Yeah, pretty spectacular.
Yes.
And my brother, Matt Pottinger.
Holla!
Good morning, sir. Good to see you. And I'm going to get that off so we can. And then, boy, we got a lot of people joining us today. I love
Wow.
this hashtag Cup of Awesome. Yo, Zeke Griffin.
Yo!
Hey.
Hey, my friend.
And by the way, and I didn't do my Welcome to Coffee Chat with David and Kelly Knight, but
No.
you did all that because you're awesome. You're
Yes.
a cup of awesome.
This
That's
is a
right.
cup of awesome.
Be sure to tell us what are you drinking. Tell us what you're drinking and use the hashtag in my mug.
Yes.
So we are drinking Kofi coffee.
Mhm.
As we've mentioned before, we drink Kofi Rwandan blend.
Yes.
And
Who actually
who
sponsored?
actually sponsors us. So let's give them a little plug. Here we go. It's so good.
It is
It's
really
so
good. And he's growing his business.
He is growing his business.
And I think we just spoke to him yesterday. And it sounds like he's going to grow and get bigger and going to be able to ship out
Yes,
sometime soon.
yes.
So we'll let you know of that.
You will soon be able to get the beautiful loveliness that is in.
And it is amazing,
Our
let me
mugs.
tell you. All right,
Well-
so it's been a week.
Has been a week. Well, it's actually been 2 weeks because last week was pre-record.
Shh. I thought we'll keep that quiet.
Well, we mentioned it on the show.
There is that. But yeah, we had a great weekend. We were just starting to drive as we were.
Yeah.
As this was going last Friday.
And it worked out pretty well. We had a great weekend. We were down in San Marcos, Texas.
Yes, so between San Antonio and Austin.
Yep. We were doing a
Saturday night D Now,
yeah, that they opened to the community.
which I think was really brilliant.
I think so too.
And they didn't have it at their church. They went to a local high school in their auditorium.
Yep, private high school, and there's a beautiful auditorium,
Yeah.
and it was funny because they were the school was actually getting ready to do a production of "You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown," and so we had like Lucy's
pieces.
Yeah, we had like Lucy's psychiatrist help stand, and we had there was Linus's piano in the back. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
I saw that.
They were building Snoopy's doghouse. It was
So thankfully
pretty
we had
spectacular.
our curtains and set up to cover that up, and so nobody knew.
Yeah,
But that was really fun. We had a great night with those people down there.
we did.
Ah,
We
blast.
did. Josh Kohler says, in my mug this morning is Starbucks Espresso Roast.
Ooh.
That's a good one, too.
That is a good one.
Although we really love the blonde espresso.
yeah,
that's-
that's been the go-to more recently.
If we're not doing Kofi,
True.
that's
True.
the go-to. But
If we can't get something else,
exactly.
we'll go for the blonde roast.
Yeah, so we had a great time with them.
Yeah.
Got to meet a pastor friend of ours down there and have dinner with him and his wife that evening.
At
Actually,
a
had
new local restaurant.
at a new local. That's right. Had the coolest compliment after the show. We had
Also good.
one of the guys who came up to us. Who was working? It was several churches working together, which I also always love.
Yeah, that was the other thing for the D now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one of the youth pastors came up to us after the show, and he said, "I just want to let you know that when this idea was first brought to me, I was a little concerned because, kids these days, they're all used to YouTube, and do they actually want to see anything live and in person?" And but we decided to bring you in anyway. And I got to tell you that after watching your show, I would rather watch an hour of you than anything on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And then he followed it up by saying, and several of my students told me the exact same thing, which was just...
That's high praise coming from teenagers.
I mean,
trying to get them off their phones.
How do you not love that?
I know.
So
that was nice.
That was a huge blessing.
Yes.
And then the next morning, we went and did kind of a combined children's and teens Sunday school, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, something they don't normally do. They don't normally mix the groups together.
Yeah.
So the children came into the student area and joined the youth, and we did a couple of tricks, and then David did the message,
a little bit of
preaching thing.
Yeah.
Talking
about Imago Dei,
yeah,
the image of God.
And that was a lot of fun.
It was.
Plus, one of the highlights, because we were actually in Round Rock, Texas. And they are very famous for a place right around the corner from them called Round Rock Donuts. And you may have seen our post with the photos up there. So good.
They're pretty amazing donuts.
So we got those.
Yeah. And it was funny because at the end of the thing, so I'd done all the tricks that I'd planned on, and did the teaching, did a little Q&A,
right.
and then this one little girl raises her hand. She's like, "Can you do another trick?"
And so then the teenagers and the youth started, one more trick, one more. So David had okay. So we went in the bag, found something else, and did one more.
Luckily, I brought that case. I wasn't going to bring that in that morning, but...
And then we got to go over and enjoy church.
The church service, which was wonderful.
The message, yes.
So, so that was our weekend. And then Monday, sadly, we went to a... sadly, not sadly, but a celebration of life.
Yes.
For our dear friend Rick Arndt, who passed away from COVID last month. Today's actually his 20th, as his wife put it, his 20th day in heaven, which is...
what an incredible man and legacies he is leaving behind.
Yeah, and it was phenomenal to see. He'd been a youth pastor in a lot of different areas.
Yeah,
and so many people came in from outside their town, from all across the country.
Oh yeah,
and
there was a lot of people there for him.
Yeah,
oh.
And hearing their stories about how he impacted their lives, it was just it was so heartwarming to know that many people cared about him, and
we got to work with him twice.
Twice, yeah.
2 different churches.
So it was a really sweet service. It was wonderful to be there and be there for his wife, Jennifer, who is just the dearest, sweetest woman in the world.
Their entire family. In fact, their eldest son is also now a pastor.
Yeah.
Walking in his dad's footsteps. So he got up and spoke during this celebration of life service, and so did his second eldest son. He's got 3. And I got to tell you, I think I want to hire those 2 to speak at my celebration of life, because it was powerful, and they practically preached right there and then. It was like a mic drop moment. So incredible. I think it was sad tears, happy tears, all at the same time. Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then this week we've been preparing, as you saw, Kaylin mentioned that we were going to be at her church, Crossroads Church in Rowlett, Texas this weekend.
For all 3 Easter services.
Yeah, we have been preparing to do something that I have been wanting to do all my life, and I've never had the chance to do, and I'm finally going to get the chance to do it this weekend. I'm going to do a truly death-defying escape.
Yes.
Do we? Yeah, might as well talk about it, right?
Might as
Yeah,
well.
I am going to attempt to recreate one of Houdini's most iconic escapes by escaping from a straitjacket while hanging upside down. All three services. It's going to be interesting.
It is. You're not going to want to miss this.
You're not. We were working on it this week, and I got to be honest with you. So in my head, like over the years, I've thought about doing this, and I've kind of worked a little bit towards it. Never had a chance to put it to. And so this week, I got the chance to finally really attempt, or see what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It is a tough escape. So, Josh was saying, April Fool's was yesterday. Yes, it was.
It was.
Yes, it was. But this is absolutely true. So
it is happening.
So if you're in the Rowlett, Texas area, come on out. They're doing
something. Unless something serious happens, you'll see it.
Yeah.
All three.
8, 9:30, and 11.
Yes.
Yes. So don't miss it. We'll be there. I hope you practice this. Yeah, somewhat, as best as I can. But
it's not like we have the equipment in our home to really practice so much. He's done what he can, and then we did actually test it all out yesterday.
Yeah, actually, one of my favorite things is they were very concerned about being safe, and so they've made it as safe as we can make it. And so we're gonna see what happens. But it's a beast.
It is.
She's so excited.
And the wife is only slightly terrified of the whole process. I was having a few nightmares the week before about him like tumbling to his death or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah. Joshua was saying, John, hope it's not underwater.
No.
Not yet. That's next.
Stop. Don't encourage him, guys. Don't. No.
Houdini was my inspiration for magic. How can I not want to recreate his escapes?
David.
Okay, well, let's get to our guest because our guest is
You're gonna
patiently
give your
waiting
wife a heart
in the wings.
attack.
We don't want to talk about scary stuff anymore. We want to talk about good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I agree.
Our guest today
Much better conversation.
is another. We're very blessed to have some fantastic guests, and this guy is another one of those. We got the chance to meet him a few years back and experience a little bit of what he does, and it's super cool.
So cool.
So I hope you guys will welcome our friend and now yours, Mr. Kyle Froman. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, friends. Listening to you guys makes me thankful for choosing chaplaincy instead of magic. Because jackets and dangling upside down are not my gig. Neither of them.
Well,
Yeah, because you're never around anything that's death-defying.
Never.
we saw it, we witnessed it, and it is a little death-defying watching them go at those speeds.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
I am in a safe zone.
No,
you are, yes.
In straight jacket, my feet planted on the ground.
Although maybe I could
Well,
do it out at the speedway and, okay, never mind. All right. Yes, welcome. Thanks for coming on the show. I just made my wife really mad. All right. Well, let's jump right into it with our first question.
Yes, we want to start off by asking about your faith story. How did you come to know Jesus?
Yeah, so this is a question I used to dread in life. And let me tell you why. Because some of my friends and people I have met have some amazing faith stories, right? Overcoming insurmountable odds, addiction, gang life, all of these stories that you're just captivated and on the edge of your seat. And when people ask me this, I'm like, man, I don't know. I always grew up with Jesus. And truth be told, I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were amazing. They were teaching me the ways of the Lord from a young age. And the rhythms of my life were always centered around Jesus. And I think that is, the more I embrace it, just as cool of a story as any other one, a life in harmony with Jesus. And that does not mean a life of perfection or a life of always pleasing Jesus with what I do, but a life of an awareness that he is with me and that I'm his child. And
Mm.
certainly through different stages and seasons of life that look differently, right? As a teenager, you meet friends and you begin to explore what it looks like as a young adult. Culture begins to come at you. But my whole life was in the presence of God, and awareness that I was his child and that I was attempting to serve him.
Mm.
The setback to that, the fallback to that was as a young adult, I had this moment. And it was when I was already in the ministry, when I was already serving others, and I was getting ready to get on an airplane and leave for a race in another state. And I had this moment, do I even believe all of this? Or is it just
Oh.
something I've been
Mm.
told? So I've just accepted it. And it was really a shattering moment for me, but it was one of the most provoking and growing moments for me in my faith as well, because I connected with some wonderful humans. I had some amazing support from my wife just to continue to grow apologetically in what I believe and why. And that really stepped me into the next level of
Mm.
commitment in my faith. So my faith story is just a life of walking with and seeing Jesus and allowing him to use the mess of my life to influence and serve others.
Wow. Wow. See, but I love that. Like, I love, yeah, we all hear about, these big stories of, huge, drug addictions and sexual addictions and all these other things and life change from that. But I think there's so much power in that steadfastness and the
Right.
the connectedness to him even from an early age. Like that's
Absolutely.
powerful,
It is.
you know.
Yeah.
And I love the phrase you used about the rhythm of your life. Always had Jesus, and I think that's powerful.
Very.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, well, thank you for sharing that. And I also,
Good.
one
Yeah,
other thing I wanted to say about that was, I love the honesty about, just because you've been with Jesus all these years doesn't mean you're not going to face that moment where, you have to really question it and figure out, is this what I'm doing? So,
Yeah.
good
yeah.
stuff.
Very good.
Well, now, we first met you as a chaplain with Motor Racing Outreach, and you gave us the
Hmm.
absolute coolest experience of being in the pit at a NASCAR race, which we'd never done before.
Woohoo!
And it was so loud.
It was.
And you have a lifelong love with cars and racing. But what is it that first attracted you to them, and how did you get involved in competitive motorsports?
Yeah, I would say my segue into motorsports was realizing just how awkward, clumsy, and unathletic I was growing up. And let me give you an example of just how bad it was. I think that I probably have the national record to be the only kid that struck out in T-ball. And by striking out in T-ball, let me clarify, you can hit the tee so many times without hitting the ball that they're finally like, just go to the base because you're not going
Oh.
to connect it. But here's how bad it was. I went to third base instead of first base in that moment.
No.
So so sports were never my friend. My brother was super athletic. My dad was
Mm.
super athletic, and everything they touched, they excelled at. And here was clumsy, goofy, awkward Kyle that really keep him away from anything breakable or flammable because someone's going to get hurt. But for some reason, motorsports resonated with me, right? A car is this universal thing. We all have cars in our life and they're all around us. So one day, I was probably 8 years old. I sat down and there was a race on TV. And I was like, oh, I could get into that. That's pretty awesome. And from that point forward, I was just enamored with motorsports. We
Mm.
were living in Franklin, Tennessee at the time. And
Uh,
during that era, Darrell Waltrip was the king of
Mm.
NASCAR, and he lived in Franklin, Tennessee. So this
Oh.
deeper affinity and
oh.
growing up and him being my hero as a little boy and just drawing me into the sport. So it was
Aw.
something that seemed universal that I could connect with. And it was a bit of a escape as well. Now I had a sport that I could cling to when everyone talked about the football and the hockey and the baseball, and I wanted nothing to do with that. But the cars, that was my spot. So that was my start to enjoying the sport as a young boy. As I got older, I certainly started feeling this call to ministry, and I could tell you an hour-long story about this whole thing. So I'm going to give you the Cliff's Notes version.
Okay.
I started feeling a call to ministry, and I realized this fandom for motorsports that I had was really at tension and conflict because my mental space was going one way, but it needed to be going the other. So much like smoking, I quit following motorsports as a bad habit. I'm like, let's put that over here and not have anything to do with that, and I'll dive into ministry. Along the way, God disrupted me and had a conversation with me, one of those audible God moments where you just know God is talking to you. And he said, Kyle, I made you passionate about this for a purpose. In that moment, I decided God was telling me to be a race car driver. I stopped listening. I said, oh, this is great. God told me to be a race car driver. I am engaged. I'm working part-time at a hotel and part-time at a church. So I did the Dave Ramsey thing, and I took out a high-interest credit card and bought a race car off of eBay because God told me to be a race car driver. As you can imagine, that was miserable. It did not go as I planned. I ended up getting scammed trying to bail out of this race car for another $9,000. Just terrible,
Oh,
terrible, terrible moment in life. And I came back and I'm like, God, you told me to do this. What's going on? What's the deal? And he said, I didn't tell you to do any of that. And in that moment, my heart broke because I realized God was speaking to me about something he was leading me into, and I put my own passion and desire in front of it. And that was heartbreaking. And I said, all right, God, you got my attention. Number one, can you bail me out of this? Because I made a pretty big mess over here. And number two, I'm your student. So a series of relationships and conversations began to unveil in front of me that introduced me to the concept of chaplaincy, in particular chaplaincy within motorsports. And from there, for the next 14 years, it was wide open until my time in NASCAR ended at the end of 2017.
wow. Wow. What a story.
Amazing.
That's amazing. It is funny how sometimes we'll put our own thoughts of what God wants from us onto the message he has for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned Dave Ramsey. Joshua St. John says, Dave Ramsey saved us. We'll be debt free no later than November 1st. Congratulations,
Whoa,
Joshua.
congrats.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So good.
And I have a feeling that reference to Dave Ramsey was not a serious reference.
No, that was definitely not a serious
Yeah.
reference. Growing up and living in Franklin, where Dave's home base is, what I did
Oh,
was
I didn't
highly
realize that.
frowned
Yeah.
upon.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
right.
highly frowned upon.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Well, oh, this one's yours.
Yeah, I know that one of your passions is to help others understand their identity. We are firm believers that understanding the imago Dei, image of God, is a huge element in a sound theology. So tell us a little of your views on it and how you see it as an opportunity to connect others to Christ.
Yeah, identity is such a big thing, especially in American culture, where what we do identifies us, and it's how others view us, and so often how we view ourselves. And I didn't realize just how susceptible I was to identity complex until my time in NASCAR came to an end. So I gave you a glimpse of my story. I've been a NASCAR fan since I was a little kid, and here I find myself working inside of that industry where my childhood hero, I've written a book with him. I am serving on the ministry that he's on the board of directors for. Like, who gets to do those types of things?
Yeah.
But I didn't realize just how susceptible my identity was within that until it all came to an end in 2017. And I was sitting on an airplane from my last race ever serving as a chaplain within NASCAR. It was from Miami Speedway back home to Nashville, Tennessee. And I sat on the airplane and I had all of these years of experiences that I could have been reflecting on, the things that God has done, the way that he's moved, the way he's used me and my family, the opportunities he's given us. Like my mind could have been celebrating all of these things. And as I sat in my aisle seat on that Delta flight, and this is embarrassing to say, but it speaks to our core. As I sat on that seat, the first thing that hit my mind was, what am I going to tell people I do now? And the second thing was, oh my word, this became my identity. This became who I was. And it set me on a crash course for a few months of having to put it all aside and reprogram who I am in Christ and who he says that I am, which trajected me into the new awareness that what we do is not who we are. What we do is simply an opportunity to connect people with who we are in Christ. The company that I work with now, Lee Company, we've got a broad diversity of people. We're a mechanical contractor. So we have HVAC technicians, we have plumbers, we have construction workers, just this huge depth of people. Where on one side, I was with a group of people that were celebrated, right? The people that had the airplanes and the buses and the jets and the fancy cars. And now I find myself over here with this set of people that really community just kind of culture just kind of
Mm-hmm.
pushes them over here. And I know that because if I walk around with a hard hat downtown, people don't hold the door open. They don't smile at me because society continues to look at us and go, your value, your worth is determined by what you do in the society and how you contribute. You're a celebrity, you're valuable. You're a tradesman, not so much. Yet
Mm-hmm.
the tradesmen and women are building the very society we live in. Like, how more
Yes.
valuable do you get than that?
Sure.
But at the end of the day, everyone is a person. Everyone is a child of God, adopted by Him, forgiven, redeemed, washed clean. And until we can get our identity rooted in that, we can never truly find health in anything. Because titles come and go, positions come and go, work comes and goes, and we'll just ebb and flow like a boat in the sea without the motor running. You know, the waves will toss us everywhere
Yeah.
until we can root ourselves in that identity that what we do isn't who we are. What we do, whatever season of life we're in, is just the opportunity to connect people with who we are. So I'm continuing to push people to identity, to seeing and discovering who they are in Christ.
Man, I love that. That is so powerful and so true. Um, yeah, it made me think about one of the best pieces of advice my dad ever gave me. He was never a huge fan of me doing magic. Like it's not the most secure job in the world. But he's like, if you're gonna do it, just make sure that magic never becomes a crutch, for who you are. Like do magic, that's fine, but don't ever let it become all that you are and all that people know you for. And so I agree. I think that's an important message.
Yes. And then it doesn't matter where you go or what job you're doing. Your identity is first and foremost as a child of God.
Yeah.
And then whatever
Yeah.
else happens doesn't really matter.
That's right. So
Yeah,
much freedom in that. So much
exactly.
freedom in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Cool.
now as a chaplain, I'm sure you've helped a lot of people through some tragic events. However, you're also passionate about the beauty found in the hurt and broken world. What advice would you give others to help them see and experience that beauty, which sometimes is really difficult to do?
Yeah, I'm kind of drawn to this moment that was recorded in the Gospel of John. And it's when Jesus was walking around and picking out his disciples there early on in the Gospel, really in John 1. And Jesus comes and gets Philip and invites him to follow him. And Philip is gung ho. And Philip does what a lot of us would do. And it's like, dude, I got to tell my friends about this. Like, we found him. Let's go get him. Bring it on. Let's go. So Philip goes and he finds Nathaniel. And he's like, hey, Nate, we found him. We found the one that the book was talking about. Like, the guy is here. The prophecy is fulfilled. We found Jesus of Nazareth. And Nathaniel's response to him is kind of an intriguing one, right? He goes, Nazareth? Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Because see, in that day and time, Nazareth was not a pretty place. It wasn't, it was just a small, tiny community of farmers and pheasants, and it wasn't celebrated. It was where the outcast came from. And Nathaniel's like, Nazareth, nothing good can come out of that. There is nothing good
Mm.
found in Nazareth. In essence, is what he was saying to Philip. And I love Philip's reply, right? Philip didn't try to argue with him and didn't try to reason with him and didn't try to use this intellectual, theological statement to argue why, well, Jesus could have come from Nazareth. Let me share with you why it could have been. He just said, come and see. Come and see what came
Mm.
out of Nazareth. So it was this invitation to see beauty in what was broken. All Nathanael saw was a broken wasteland that nothing good could have come out of. And Philip just said, well, come and see. There is brokenness there, but come and see what's beautiful. And I think so often, really what we have to do when we look at these Nazareths in life,
Mm.
the COVID pandemic was a Nazareth, death is a Nazareth, cancer is a Nazareth. We look at these Nazareths And we just get so fixated on what is broken and wrong that we can't see the beauty out of it, that we can't see the good out of it. I would imagine in 10 years, if you interview adults about 2020, 2021, they're gonna be like, man, that was a horrible year. Like, I lost my job, I lost my work, I was depressed, I was overwhelmed, I was just beaten up. You pull the children of those same adults aside, and I think you're going to hear a totally different story. Like, my dad was around, like, we were going for walks in the evening, we were playing in the yard, and my family was in the home, because they're choosing to focus on the beauty that came out of that Nazareth. And I think when we look at brokenness in this world, it's easy to fixate on the attacks of the enemy, the brokenness that's around us, and forget that God is in the middle of it all, redeeming it and putting it back together. My kids love an entire room in our house that is nothing but Legos. Like, not an exaggeration, a crazy amount of, and they'll just build to their heart's content. Like, they will build all day long. And now that they're getting a little older, this doesn't happen as often. But when they were younger, they would build something and they would come walking out, and they got every bit of their dexterity from me, which means not much dexterity. And they would drop their creation,
Oh, no.
and it would hit the ground and it would just shatter everywhere, right? Lego bricks in the ground don't mesh well. Gut reaction is, all right, pick it up, let's move on, right? But reality of what I would do as a father is I would sit by him and we go, all right, well, let's see what we got here. Like, let's take some of these pieces and do this, and some of these pieces and do that. And we'd sit together in this broken pile of Legos and we'd build something new. And most of the time they would go, oh, wow, that's so much better than what I could have done. And I go, well, Daddy was a part of it. Of course it is. What I don't do as a father is I don't watch them walk out with this creation and hide behind the sofa and go, I'm going to trip him so that it can fall and break and we can make something better. So often we look at God and brokenness and we go, God's just hiding behind the sofa waiting to trip us so that our life can crash and build something better. I see the converse. I see a God that goes, man, what you made is pretty beautiful. Like, that's great. And then brokenness of this world comes in, sin and just a fallen world, and destroys it all. And then God sits behind us and goes, well, let's take some of this over here, and let's take some of this over here, and begins to build something new. And we sit back and we look at it and we go, wow, where did that come from? But it could only come from the brokenness that happened in front of us and allowing God's hands to be a part of it. So in Nazareth, I just try and look for the beauty. I try and look for what God is doing to redeem, to draw out of. It's a broken, fallen world, and free will creates all kinds of nasty out there. There's no avoiding it. But God's promise is that he's not going to waste any of it, that he's going to use it, he's going to redeem it, he's going to rescue it, and he's going to do something beautiful out of it. So that's where I see God in the brokenness, sitting on the floor in this pile of Legos right beside us, building something beautiful and amazing.
That's a beautiful visual.
It really is.
I could see that.
Yeah, I can picture that in my head. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, man, that's, and I love that. One of the things we will often talk about is one of our roles as people who are created in God's image is to be co-creators with Him, and like that visual of He's there, but He's inviting us to be a part of the recreation process, which I just think is so powerful and so beautiful. And man, that message, that's I think you were meant to be. I think you were meant to be in ministry. I'm pretty certain.
Pretty sure.
Well, thank you.
In case there was any
much
doubt,
more than meant to be hanging upside down, right? That over a straight jacket any day.
If you change your mind at any time, just come on over and we'll hook you up.
We can hook you up.
Literally.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Well, Kyle, you've given us some awfully great answers to some deep questions. We're going to shift gears now and go to something a little more lighthearted with our lightning round that we call 5 questions.
5 questions.
Good times. All right, let's get started. Question number 1. What are you binge watching right now?
Yeah, I've got two things. One is on Netflix. It's a series called Drive to Survive that follows
Survive.
Formula One. It's in
Oh,
the third season. It just came out. So as a family, we're kind of watching through that one together. And then American Idol. Like we're big
Oh,
American Idol fans in our
yeah.
house. So that's our weekly rhythm. We watch 30 minutes of American Idol every night to catch up until the next week. So those are our big two shows right now.
oh, very cool.
Is that a thing you have to do if you live in Nashville?
American Idol? Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
you
live
have to watch
vicariously
it.
through those who can sing because I cannot sing. So I live through others. It's so bad. When I was a children's pastor, I had all of the kids sitting around me one Sunday at church, and we were in the big church for worship service, and I'm just singing my heart out. And there was this little girl next to me, and she tugged on my shirt, and I'm like, just a minute, sweetie. We're in the middle of service now. We'll talk in a minute. And she tugged again, and I'm like, we'll talk in a few minutes. And she tugged again. And I finally turned and I said, what do you need? And she said, could you sing softer? Because you sound really, really bad.
Oh no!
So I am not a singer, but I love watching people who can sing.
That is fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a
Don't you
joyful
love
moment.
kids' honesty?
It's fantastic. Really, watching anyone who's passionate about what they do is engaged. Guys are passionate about illusions, and that will captivate people. People who are passionate about singing captivates people.
Yes.
Watching someone do something with passion just awakens your own passions and how to do it. So I think that's what we
Yeah.
like most about American Idol.
Yeah,
That's great.
Joshua St. John says, I was bummed when Christian Terry went home. I hope he does big things. So, not having watched it, I don't know who that is, but
Yeah.
I hope he does big things.
That
soon.
might be a spoiler alert because I didn't
Oh.
know he went home yet. So
Whoops.
we're a couple weeks behind. No.
Well.
I love it.
Well, we just
Oops.
lost everybody. Okay.
Okay. Should have put in a spoiler alert there, Joshua.
That was good.
It's all good.
Okay,
good.
if you could have any other job than the one you have right now, what would it be?
I think that was revealed in me telling God what I wanted to do. I think I would have been a race car driver.
I like it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whew. All right. What is your favorite to go order?
We have two boys in the house, 12 and 9, so nuggies. You can't get enough of the chicken nuggies from McDonald's.
Oh, okay. McDonald's.
Yes. We do a lot of Bojangles as well.
Ooh,
Okay,
Bojangles.
yes.
We're in the South. You got to
Yeah,
have your fried
that's
chicken
true.
and sweet tea. I mean, in my coffee.
Right?
Right. And I
There's-
love it that February they have, what do they call it? Blueberry biscuits, right? Isn't that the one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've not
At
seen
Bojangles?
those yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, my
yeah.
word.
It's only a limited time, so I think they're heart-shaped biscuits.
Yeah, the heart-shaped biscuits.
And they've got like blueberries or something
Yeah, I
in
think
it.
so. Yeah.
Biscuits. And they've
How
got
did
this
we
Aussie on
miss
it.
that?
They're amazing. I think it's every
Now
year.
I have to wait another year for that.
You
That's
do.
right.
Oh, it's like COVID all over again.
I'm so sorry to
Another
let you
year.
down in that way.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man.
But also,
Oh,
Joshua St.
Joshua St. John
John.
says, well, you're way behind then. That's not even from last week. Or from
Yeah,
this week. It's
yeah,
from this week.
week.
we're
You're way
like 3
behind.
weeks behind.
Oh,
right
my
now,
goodness.
so.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
you need to
Definitely
catch
gotta.
up.
Okay.
Well, you
well,
can
Life
make
has
a
been
prediction.
well, now you
You
can
can tell how much I watch TV.
right? Well, you just don't tell your family, and then just just go. I think this is the week he's going home.
I think so.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, one of those clairvoyance type things,
That's
right?
exactly.
You are so brilliant. How'd you know?
All right, what are you reading right now?
Yep, I 3 different things going right now. One is Love Does by Bob Goff, and it's like my
nice.
4th time through that book. I just
Yeah.
can't read it enough. Reading through the Bible in a year again, so
Nice.
Nice.
I'm on that journey, and then I'm about to start another book called The Power of 7. That's by Darren Tyler, who is the pastor of the church that I'm a part of. That talks about just your spiritual gifts and an awakening of how to employ those. So it's a great piece.
Sounds exciting.
It does
Yeah.
sound
Check
good.
that one out.
All right. Last question. They decide to make a movie of your life. Who plays you?
So I think there's 2 answers to this. There's who I think would play me, and then
Okay.
there's who the rest of the world thinks would play me. Certainly George Clooney is going to portray me
Well-
out there in the public. Like, of course.
Naturally.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I think if you took a poll from all of my friends, they'd probably say Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean?
Rowan
Yeah,
Atkinson.
Rowan
Atkinson,
yeah,
hilarious.
I think that's probably the more popular, accurate answer of the two.
He could do his little dance thing.
That's right. That's right.
I'm just having a visual of that. Okay, sorry.
Oh,
Man. Well, Kyle, we thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to hang out with us. It's always a pleasure to see you, and this was such a blast to be a part of. Thank you
So
for joining
good.
us.
We need to catch
so
up
much fun.
in real life again some point soon.
I agree. Maybe we could line up race cars in a parking lot and just go in circles together.
Okay,
There we go. I like it.
I like it. We can go in circles.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, sir. We will talk to you again sometime soon.
Thank you, guys. It was a
Thanks,
joy.
Kyle.
Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Bye. See, I told you another fantastic. He's such a good guy.
He
Like,
really is.
He just
Love it.
He makes my heart happy.
Yes.
Well, next week we will have another fantastic guest. We will have Jody Anderson, who is regional director for Apartment Life, which we've talked about many times on this program. But you'll get to hear a lot more about the program and what he does and what he's doing. It's going to be a great
We're
conversation.
big fans of Apartment Life.
We are huge fans of Apartment Life. So, and hopefully you guys saw that we put out this week our month of shows. We're really excited.
Yes, all planned out so that way you guys can plan and looking like, get excited like we are.
Yeah. We were excited this time last year when we had planned a week out.
Yes.
Now we've got a month out and almost 2 months. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
We've got schedules for May.
I'm not going to
already.
let you know of May just yet, but soon.
That's good.
It's going to be great.
Any final thoughts?
That's all. It's Easter weekend.
It's Easter weekend. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a great weekend. Again, if you're in Rowlett, Texas, or in the area, come out to Crossroads Church and check out what we're going to
And if
do.
you're not in the area, go to another church.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to be there to celebrate.
And I think they actually might be live streaming the services, so you could potentially catch what we're going to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Pressure's really on then.
Josh Kohler, your schedule looks great. Of course it does, because it ends in April with you.
Yes, it does. We're so excited.
Okay, guys. Well,
That's it.
that's it.
I think that's all.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next time on Coffee Chats.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.